Here in Chapter 13, we are going to be discussing pricing decisions. So we're going to be pricing our products or services that we supply our customers with. And we are also going to cover cost management. So what it costs us to actually provide those products or services to our customers. We have several learning objectives in this particular chapter. Number one, we're going to discuss the three major factors that affect our pricing decisions. For now, we're going to refer to those as the 3 C's. That's our customers, our competitors, and our cost. All three of those factors have to be considered when we are trying to make our pricing decisions. We are going to understand how companies make long-run pricing decisions. Up until this point, we have covered some short-run pricing decisions, but in this particular chapter, we're going to be talking about the fact that our customers like to have stable pricing from us. They want to be able to use those numbers in their calculations for how they're going to run their business. All right, so they're looking for us to provide them with stable information or things that they can count on going forward. We are going to learn about 2 different alternative approaches for our long-run pricing. We have got one that is based on market prices. That's typically for a company that competes within a market where there are a lot of competing companies offering basically the same type of product or service, and so we've got a market-based selling price. Okay, it's not just a number that we can just come up with on our own. It is competitively come to. All right. Then we have another where it's not so competitive, and it is a cost plus. Okay, so a cost base, what does it cost us to make our product or service? And then on top of that, we're going to mark it up. We will be taking 2 different ways of looking at these. If we're having to go with the market-based, where we've got that market price or target price of what we can sell our item for, we're going to go out there and we're going to find out what that number is in the market, and then we're going to back out of it what we need to generate in net income or operating income, and then we are going to come up with target cost. We have got to be able to sell it for that price, make a certain amount of profit off of it, and our cost to make our product or service can only be so much. Okay, so we're going to back our way through one, where the other one, that cost-based, we're going to start with what our actual costs are and mark it up from there. We are going to learn about cost incurrence and what locked-in costs are. This is very important aspects, because you guys as cost accountants, some of you, or possibly in some type of other position at a company in accounting, you guys are going to help the management folks and the engineers and others understand these concepts, and you are going to help out in what is called value engineering. And we'll talk more about that, because again, this is very important. This is a great chapter. I mentioned we're going to do the cost plus approach in addition to the target price and backing our way through to target cost. We're also going to talk about life cycle budgeting and costing when making pricing decisions. We're going to describe 2 pricing practices in which non-cost factors are important. And we will explain the effects of antitrust laws on pricing. We did mentioned earlier in one of our other chapters about some of these antitrust laws, but this is our particular chapter that covers those a little bit more in depth than that other chapter. So let's talk for just a second about these 3 C's, these major factors that affect our pricing decisions. So how companies price a product or service ultimately depends on the demand for the product and, of course, the supply for it. And you guys have all had economics. When you had that class, you learned how those things affect it. And it is very important what we price our items for, but it's also very important that we know what our competition is also going to price the products for. It's also important what features the product may have, what we're able to offer versus what our competitors are able to offer. So we have to consider a lot of different things when we are trying to come up with a price that we are going to market our products for. So like I mentioned earlier, we do have 3 influences on demand and supply, and those are our customers, our competitors, and our cost. Our customers influence price through their effect on the demand. What do they want? How many of them do they want for a product or service based on the factors such as the product features and the quality. Here in this day and age, our customers are more knowledgeable because they have easy access to pricing and other information via the internet. And they demand high quality products and they want them for low prices. Being able to do research and compare pricing at the touch of a finger on a digital device has greatly impacted the global economy. I want you guys to visualize also what you are able to do when you go to certain stores and compare information on products and their pricing. So imagine, if you will, I'm pretty sure that the majority of you guys have definitely been to Best Buy at some point in your life. If you go back to the laptop section and walk around for a few minutes, you have all of the options displayed to you and all of those prices. And you can work your way through that area in that store trying to decide on which one of those laptops you want. What are the features? Are they good quality products or not, based on your past experience and maybe some information you go out and get off the internet or at some site like Consumer Reports? And then what are you willing to pay for those features that you're interested in? What about the features you're not interested in? You don't want to pay for something that you could care less if it's on the laptop or not, right? So consider those types of things. The customers have a lot of influence on what we offer and how much we offer it for. What about our competitors? Depending on how stiff the competition is, it can be tough in a particular industry or market. So competitors influence prices through their technologies, what they're able to come up with in their research and development. And then, of course, their plant capacities, what are they able to actually do? And then they've got their operating strategies as well. All of these things affect their actual cost, which, of course, affects what they're going to end up selling it for. As we dive into this chapter, you're going to see that. Who is able to make competitive advantages and who is able to keep those? Who can optimize their operations over the long haul and reduce their cost? Those are the folks that get to stay in the game. If they cannot do those kinds of things, sooner or later, they're going to be out of business. Cost, we of course definitely know those influence our prices because they affect supply. The lower the cost, the greater the quantity a firm is willing to supply. We all understand the revenues minus cost equals income. All right, so if we're not able to contain our cost for lower than a selling price that consumers are willing to pay, then we won't make any money. So we have got to keep our thumb on our cost. So before setting prices, under any of the approaches that we're going to take a look at, managers need to understand their customers and their competitors for 3 reasons. Competition from lower cost producers has meant that prices cannot be increased. Lower cost competitors usually are able to restrain prices. So we've got to be just as good as the next guy if we are going to be able to compete. Products, unfortunately, have shorter lives these days, which leaves companies less time and less opportunity to recover from any pricing mistakes that they have made in the past, market share that they have lost for some reason or another, and of course any loss of profitability due to those types of things. And then, as I mentioned already, our customers are definitely more knowledgeable about the products because of that ease of checking things via the internet. So costing and pricing for the long run is what we're going to be looking at in this chapter. We have seen in our prior chapters short run pricing. For example, those items that were, do we want to take an offer for a one-time purchase? Yes or no? So pricing a one-time only special order with no long-run implications, we have seen those. We briefly discussed adjusting product mix and output volume in a competitive market. But what we're looking at now is long-run pricing. It is one of our strategic decisions that management has to make. We are looking to build long-run relationships with our customers because they want stable and predictable prices. Think of the folks that are working with Volkswagen. Volkswagen needs long-term information because they have to do a lot of long-term planning themselves. All right, so managers prefer a stable price. Managers from your customer perspective want stable pricing, but I can assure you that managers internally want stable pricing as well. They want to be able to see farther out what types of prices things are going to be charged, but then we have to know that we've got costs that are being incurred in order to hold up pricing. So it gives our internal managers goals regarding the cost. And I'll be able to explain that a little bit further with some information that we're going to look at for our example problems in this particular chapter. So costs that are irrelevant for short-run policy decisions, such things as research and development and some other costs that we have ignored up until this point, are actually going to be relevant for our long-run planning. All right, what about our fixed costs that cannot be changed? Those things are over the long haul. Those are our long-range planning items, and we have to consider those in our long-run planning. All right, so they are relevant. Profit margins in long-run pricing decisions are often set to earn a reasonable ROI or return on investment. Prices are decreased when demand is weak and increased when demand is strong. We need to make a profit, so we are going to consider our profit in our long-run planning. Cost allocation, we're going to be looking at activity-based costing or ABC costing, and we are going to allocate all of our cost across the value chain. Recall that indirect cost of a particular cost object are costs that are related to that cost object but cannot be traced to it in an economically feasible or cost-effective way. But they're still cost, and even though they're indirect, we cannot ignore them. All right, so long-run costing, we are going to consider all cost across the value chain, including such things as research and development, engineering. All those kinds of costs are going to be included. They are relevant. These indirect costs are often a very large percentage of our overall costs that are incurred for our cost objects. Cost allocations can influence managers' cost management decisions as well as the products that managers promote. We have some purposes of cost allocation. Up until this point, you guys, through your other classes, have really focused on number 4. Purpose, to measure income and assets. For example, to cost our inventories, for financial reporting to external parties, and to cost our inventories for financial reporting and, of course, our taxing authorities, right? We've also talked a little bit about number 3, to justify our cost or compute reimbursement amounts. For example, Department of Defense or some type of governmental accounting, or possibly any of the types of industries that are regulated, what can be charged, or the amount of profit that can be earned. So we've done it to cost products at a fair price, often required by law and government defense contracts, or there are even contracts between companies and consulting firms where the consulting firm gets paid a percentage based on their recommendations, where the company has actually saved money due to the consultant's recommendations. So what we're going to be looking at more here is to provide information for economic decisions and motivating managers and other employees. So make sure you go through and read those purposes of cost allocation. We've got an alternative for long-run pricing approaches. We've got 2 different ways we can do this. How should managers use product cost information to price their products? There are 2 approaches. We've got the one that I mentioned earlier, a market-based approach. What is the market price? The market is influenced by the competition, the supply, the demand, what the customers are willing to pay for it, and the fact that they've got a multitude of companies that they can purchase from. All right, so that market-based price, we are not going to be able to sell it for more than that. So we're going to start with that market price and work our way back. Given what our customers want and how competitors react to that and what we do, what price should we charge or can we charge? The cost-based approach is, on the other hand, given what it costs us to make this product, what price should we charge or can we charge that will recoup our cost and achieve a target return on investment. So how can we generate enough to make management and our investors happy and our customers actually still pay for our product or service? We're going to see both of those. Companies operate in different markets. Okay, so depending on the type of industry and the market forces within that, what are we able to do? So these affect the approach that can be used for pricing. If we are in a very competitive market, we are going to have to use that market-based or market price in order to develop our price. But if we're in another type of market where maybe there's only one or two of us, and maybe our products are a little bit different from our competition, then maybe we can use that cost-based or cost-plus pricing. So companies operating in competitive markets use the market-based or market price approach. Companies in these markets must accept the prices set by the market. Where, on the other hand, if we are in a market where the products are a little bit different, there's not so many competing companies, then it's less competitive, and we are able to either use that market-based approach and kind of compare pricing of what our competition is able to offer for the slightly different product, and what are we offering, and what are our bells and whistles, and how much do we think our customers would pay for ours versus theirs. Or we can just use the cost-based approach where it's a cost plus, whatever it costs us plus a markup. Both approaches definitely do still have to consider the 3 C's. Only the starting points differ. Again, if we're doing the market-based, we start with the market selling price and work our way backwards. If we are the cost-based, then we're going to start with our cost and work our way forwards or up. So imagine those two starting points. Sketch that out. Draw that out on your notes. Market-based, we start at market. We back off some profit and come to a cost that we've got to be able to perform at. And for the cost-based, we start at cost, add some profit, and come up with a selling price. Okay? That's how they differ. Managers should always keep in mind market forces, regardless of which pricing approach they use. Might I add that it's very important that our marketing and our salespeople keep their fingers on the pulse of what's going on with our competition and with what our customers want. What are our customers demanding? What is our competition able to offer going forward? And for how much is our competition going to be able to offer it for? With the advent of the internet, there's a lot of information that can be found about that type of stuff. Might I want to add that there's a few of you in the class that might be somehow involved in strategic operations of your future businesses. Where all can you go to get some of this information? Consider the annual report and all of those footnotes that you guys have been able to see how those things are put together. What about the management and discussion and analysis portion, that MD&A in the financial reports? Go and find those documents that your competition or companies that are somehow your products and services are related. Go and do your research. That stuff is publicly available. You guys know that. Go and dig through those reports. Visit competition web pages. The information is out there for you to obtain. Don't be using dirty tricks and dumpster diving and what other methods are out there that are crooked. Go and get the stuff that's legit and publicly available. Do your research. Again, we've mentioned that companies operate in different markets and they'll use approaches for pricing dependent on the type of market that they're working in. Companies operating in markets that are not competitive favor cost-based approaches because these companies do not need to respond or react to what their competitors are doing. With our target pricing, we're going to do that one first. It definitely starts with the market price or the target price. which is the estimated price for the product or service that our customers or potential customers are in fact willing to pay. Now, you may need to do some serious research in order to get this price right. Okay? You have got to consider your competition, but you may also need to get your marketing people to do some studies and some meetings with customers. Inside the 15th edition textbook, it talks about how JCPenney's bombed out on that. If they didn't do consumer testing, a little bit of that research, consumer research, get yourself some groups of individuals together and bounce some ideas off of them. If you're not really good at that, you could spend lots of money implementing a pricing strategy that not only bombs out, but costs your company millions, if not billions of dollars. The target price is estimated based on an understanding of the customer's perceived value. We must always view the pricing from the eyes of the customer. What are they going to be willing to pay for the product and all the bells and whistles? If they do not want all of the bells and whistles, they are not going to be willing to pay whatever it is you're wanting to charge them for it. Okay, we'll talk later in this chapter about value added and non-value added. If the components that they are not willing to pay for are still on the product and still included in the price, and the customer says no go, why did you waste your time and money on making that product? Maybe you need to back off the cost for those items and therefore be able to reduce that price for those components that those customers are not willing to pay for. How competitors will price competing products or services. Again, do your research. What have they done in the past? What kinds of things are they doing to optimize their operations? What kinds of cost reductions have they worked into their process? Are they going to be reducing their selling price, or are they just planning on increasing their margins and profit? Implementing target pricing and target costing, there are 5 steps, and I am literally going to pick back up on this slide when we do the next video all about target pricing.